our guest for this interview is the guy behind one of the most unique and most original track in the deep house scene that we heard in the past 10 years, called Lingala.
Yes.
This is a track that we've been obsessed with and that we still play today. His productions are very original and his grooves are unmistakable. He's the owner of the Subsonic label and part of the All Day I Dream family. And he's been pushing this very nice sound of his for the past 10 years under the name of Lost Desert. How are you, Patrick?
I'm fine, thank you. Just came back from Burning Man. Was very exhausting for for an old man like me, but we had a good time. Yes.
You have some great stories from Burning Man?
How long do we have?
Well, yeah, I guess it's a quite unique festival in here. How long have you been going to Burning Man?
This was my second year. Apart from being very special, it's also very expensive for a guy like me. So this was the second year we went. I took some friends that were never there, so that was a real eye opener for them. It's a unique experience. I mean, everybody who loves art in the first place and loves music, all kinds of music, needs to go at least once, I think. I mean, if you're young, I think it's a life experience that nowhere in the world I have experienced. This kind of vibe, these kind of people.
Nice, nice. What were the parties that you played at? Which events?
I played the Soundgarden, which is a different camp than Nick Warren's label, the Soundgarden, which was really nice. I played Playground. This is Carl Cox's camp. I played Pink Mammoth, which is always fun and very pink.
Right.
And those were the camps that I played, and I also visit Damien Lazarus playing Sunrise on Mayan Warriors, which was amazing. He played 2 tracks I made and I sent him. And then, of course, the Sunrise of Lee Burridge at Robot Heart is always stunning. And then I went to Lee Burridge playing Pink Mammoth.
Nice, nice. Sounds like you've been quite busy.
We were, yeah.
So what was your first big project that you worked on and what kept you motivated?
The real, can I say, breakthrough was Red Carpet, All Right, which I made with Rafa Brescia. And that track was the first one that really went international. And up to this day, it's still a track that even young people recognize. So I'm very proud of that.
You have all the reasons to. I think it's a timeless track, and I believe it truly stand the test of time. And
It did, yes.
I don't believe that a lot of people know that you're the guy behind this. So
No,
it's a great thing.
no.
So every career has its challenges, obviously. But what's the toughest moment that you faced as an artist?
Well, I think in music, the tough moments make you renew yourself, find new ways to express yourself, because you're going one way, and in music it's always like a cycle of more vocal, less vocal, faster, slower, harder, softer. And it's been like this for as long as I've been listening to music, even not even making music, but listening to music for 50 odd plus years. So I mean, it's tough when you get into the downslope,
Right.
as I say. But that also is the time where you should rethink about yourself and what you love, and even go back in time, but go back 20 years, go back 30 years, go back 40 years. Get inspired by that and rediscover yourself in what you really love.
After such a long time, I believe that you've been through so many downs that you're now used to it, so it's no longer feels like it's just natural.
You learn to cope with it, and I mean, you remember the last one,
right?
And you go like, "Hey, I got out of that one, so yeah, let's do it again."
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So on the flip side, what's one of the most amazing moments in your career? Like, wow, this is why I do it. This is why I'm here for.
Well, I think it's the moment that you create something that you get goosebumps. I think those are still for me the most cherished ones. Even before you get to play them, or I think it's an addiction. Creating something out of nothing, where there's this moment when you add something or you take something away and you listen to it and suddenly your hairs just go up and you go like, oh, I like this. I think those are the moments that I really cherish the most. And then, of course, afterwards, there are the moments where you get that feeling of you play it and the people feel the same as you do.
Right.
And I mean, there are, of course, some of the highlights of moments that I can talk about. But for me, as a creator, as a producer, as a writer, I think the moment of creating is my most cherished thing in music.
It's very interesting that it goes back to creating. Like
Yes.
Knowing that for that instance you have something that is of value,
Yes.
and you're the only one that.
Which is of value to me at that time.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think those moments are the ones that over the years, I've learned to listen to myself and listen to to those moments and cherish those moments, even though the track or the album or the EP doesn't resonate with the people at that time.
When you create, usually, where do you usually get your ideas from? Are there any experiences or moods or places that spark your inspiration, or where do you get the inspiration from?
I think all the things you mentioned, it's like a pool of emotion that you take into the studio. It could be a gig that you play. It could be a discussion that you had with a colleague or somebody that's also creating. It- or it could be a track from so many years ago that you suddenly comes to mind and you go like, oh yeah, wait, let's listen to that again, and just get inspired by that.
Yeah.
Um, I also am a big fan of Rick Rubin, his creative act, and he also comes down to saying like, even going back to your things that you loved when you were younger or when you were even growing up, or going back to that and even trying to copy it, could be very helpful in creating something totally
Different,
new, totally you. Even though you say like, okay, I love these chords, right? Start with those chords, but it'll never end up being the same song as the ones from 30 years ago.
Exactly.
And I think that's something that always will be there. I mean, people will always go back in time to find the future. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, I think it's like whatever sparked your interest in this music. It's at the core of who you are as a musician. It's like,
Yeah.
it's going back home and going back to your younger self.
Yeah.
And say, hey, let's listen to what sparked the first thing in the first place.
Yes.
And then you can like, hey, let's bring it to now and see what we can do with it.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
You've worked with Lee Burridge for quite a long time. How has this collaboration shaped you as an artist?
Well, it shaped me. It totally shaped me as Lost Desert.
Right.
Right? Because I met Lee in 2004, the end of 2014. Started working with him in 2015, so it's a decade now. It's 10 years now.
Yeah.
He gave me the name Lost Desert.
Nice.
So in the story of Lost Desert, he totally shaped my thoughts on music and my thoughts on vibes and emotion in music and all that. He has a big part on that, especially especially the first 5 years. He was hands on in feeding me and giving me ideas and shaping me in that kind of thing. Because back then, All Day I Dream was new, and All Day I Dream was a new and bright, amazing idea on counter movement on the nightclubs, dark, flashy, high energy kind of stuff. All Day I Dream was the opposite, which me being in music then like 20 years, also a bit tired of all that madness at that time. It was a breath of fresh air going like, oh, we don't need snare drums and we don't need flashing lights. We just bring something which is beautiful and brings people together. So in that perspective, Lost Desert was heavily influenced by All Day I Dream and Lee Burridge.
In regards to the electronic music scene, we can see that it's evolving very fast. So, where do you see it heading in the next few years?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a very interesting question, but I think at the moment 90% of the artists are lost.
Not necessarily
And
in the
not,
desert,
not,
yeah.
not in the desert, but really lost because um, how do I say this? As I said, music is always cycles, right? And when we start, when Lee started All Day Dream and I joined 2 years later, we had this specific vision. So it was easy. It was easy. When I went into the studio and I came across a sound, or when I was going through my synthesizers, I immediately knew like, this is All Day I Dream, right? Even a sound could trigger me, or a percussion could say like, oh yeah, this could be like
the vision.
in our vision. But when time evolves, and this happens all the time with all kinds of genres, there is a saturation point where you go like, yeah, it could be All Day a Dream, but kind of saturated on that kind of vibe, right? Also, over those 10 years, we are slowly getting into a new generation of people, a new generation of younger people. The parties also got bigger, so the energy kind of changed. And then when a certain genre is going on for 10 years, the saturation is, of course, is there, right? And you feel that if people are going backwards in time, taking old classics and trying to make it into that specific genre, in our case, organic, it's kind of the beginning of the end for a lot of genres. When something new pops up, everybody jumps on it, everybody loves it, everybody loves it, and then there are always people that go like, okay, but what if we take this kind of drums and vibe, but put like a melody from there on it, and then it makes it popular. And once an underground genre goes popular, in most cases, it's the beginning of the end.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So, what do you feel like is actually missing from the scene today? Can you pinpoint what's actually missing? Or what's the main thing that you feel like is missing from the scene today?
Well, I think a professional selection,
A curation.
a curation of some sort. Because I just then I told you a story about the little garden with 3 beautiful oaks.
Yeah.
And you see those oaks, there are 3 beautiful oaks. But when you're in a park like this, you have to look for those 3 beautiful oaks.
Yeah.
And with music these days, there is no curation, there is no bottleneck anymore. Everybody, with all due respect, everybody with a laptop can make a track and put it online tomorrow, which makes it very easy to get music out. 20 years ago, I think it was a lot harder to get music out. So I think the music was a little bit more refined and a little bit more curated by professionals. You had, first of all, the record labels, which were professionals and said like, okay, no, a few went through. Then you had the whole store, which kind of curated it. Then you had the shop, record shop, which curated it. And then in the shop, you had like these 10 tracks that were curated by a few professionals, which had that certain level of uh, quality to it.
Yeah.
Now it's just a waterfall of music that comes out, and it's really hard to find that oaks, that really beautiful ones that will stand the test of time. I hear a lot of music which are copies from copies from copies from copies from copies, and they last, if they're lucky, they last 2 weeks and they're gone. Right? Give me 10 tracks that will be playable in 20 years time.
It's very hard to find these days, this type of tracks. Yeah. Nice. Well, that was it.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time and for your interview.
Thank you, guys. Love you.